Hi, everyone. This is Raji Ramanan, and I am the founder principal of Strategic Solutions. We do a lot of disruptive work in the world of AI, and we also do work in career coaching, leadership development, and executive leadership coaching. We have a wonderful guest of honor today, Tatiana Kuleba, who I have known for years now. And it is always a pleasure to have conversations with you, Tatiana. You've always been inspiring, motivating, and very invigorating in the past whenever we've had conversations. And I'm looking forward to what we are going to unfold today. Tatiana is a great leader that I have known of who puts into practice a lot of agile and people-centered leadership, apart from being a very business and outcome-focused leader. And today I am going to be meeting her in her new avatar where she has gone entrepreneurial. Hey, Tatiana, that's a great step forward. And I'm sure you have a lot of lessons for those who are trying to be in the same path. So, Tatiana, why don't you introduce yourself to the audience and we can go cracking on our little discovery phase and unfolding leadership dilemmas you had in your current pivoting from being an organizational leader to a full-fledged entrepreneur.
Well, Raji, thank you for having me. It's a great joy for me to be here and share this time and discussion with the audience. I am now transitioned into being full-time entrepreneur from my corporate role in 30 plus years. And currently, I lead a startup, Tava, with focus on education space and learning. I'm happy to share today what this transition entails for me and in talking with other entrepreneurs, and hopefully the discussion will be valuable to those that are seeking to explore similar paths.
So, Tatiana, you and me have been talking for quite a few years now as you have progressed in your leadership journey in a very successful career path in the corporate world. And we've talked about this entrepreneurial appetite, hunger, and compelling urge in you. And finally, you made it. So I want to ask you this question. What is the biggest leadership shift that you experienced, you found in yourself that you want to share with our audience in terms of moving from a corporate role where you've been successful, you've hit all the milestones, and you've been extremely effective, both as a business and a people leader? And what is it that you experienced in the world of entrepreneurship as you stepped into it?
Well, that surely is a big question, right, Raji? We all of us have goals and we grow and we develop and we succeed in certain spaces. And for me, that has been a corporate experience for a very long time. And the biggest shift going into entrepreneurship is that you are now shifting from a very structured system to owning everything end to end yourself. Not on your own, of course. You still have a team, but the ownership is very, very different from a corporate structure. There's also a change in identity, how you see yourself, how you perceive what you bring, your value, your engagements, which also require adaptation. There are certainly core skills that you bring with yourself that are absolutely relevant, like strategy, execution, organizational skills. But entrepreneurs have to really be completely independent. They have to self manage. They have to select the tools and platforms they're going to use. And they truly have to be a lot hands on in ways that maybe they haven't been in their corporate experience. The decision making also becomes a lot faster, but at the same time, the accountability, the risk, the responsibilities, it's entirely with you. as the entrepreneur. So definitely requires building processes to maintain focus, to maintain productivity, and to build momentum independently.
I think you bring about a great point where there is ease in the process and quicker, faster steps in the process, especially decision making, prioritizing, and strategizing. But it comes with a cost, and a cost that you cannot undo or go back. So it is a lot of risk that you need to mitigate. Well said, well pointed out, Tatiana. So, my follow-up question would be, I'm sure we've talked about this many times before. There is a lot of fear when you move from a very established corporate role where there is a lot of chaos, there is a lot of noise you have to wade through, and a lot of politics that you have to play and be a part of managing in a role in a big corporate setup versus an entrepreneur. But at the same time, there is different types of risks and fears associated with entrepreneurship. What would you talk about that to our audience in terms of fears most commonly people face while transitioning from a very secured role that is time and tested over number of years to the world of entrepreneurship, which sounds and looks exciting, but at the same time, it comes with a lot of unknowns and uncertainties. So, what would you share as your experience and things that you've come across in others making this same decision and make it work?
Thank you for asking that question. I do speak to other entrepreneurs who have transitioned from corporate world. And one of the most common ones, of course, is the fear of failure. And especially when you have had a successful career and experience that has been consistent. And now you're embarking on something that does not have parameters fully defined for yourself. And you have to be prepared to fail. You have to be prepared to fail. But you also have to be prepared to adapt, and you have to be prepared to pivot. And entrepreneurship, the smallest failures truly can be oversized consequences in ways that are not the same always in the corporate world. And overcoming this fear requires a really deep alignment with our personal purpose, a realistic assessment of our risks that we're embarking on, and putting that financial and emotional guardrail in place to help us manage the uncertainties that inevitably we're going to face responsibly. And that is one thing that I see as maybe the most challenging, getting yourself comfortable with that, or at least at an acceptable level, so you can apply yourself fully in this new context.
The stakes are very high.
The stakes are very high, much higher than they are otherwise, because you're putting everything into it, and it all is with you ultimately.
It's kind of a different kind of a jungle where many times you're all alone. You're not surrounded by all the paraphernalias and the battalions that you have in the more mature, evolved corporate world. It's a boon and a bane, right?
Yes.
So the follow-up question I have, you talked about you have to adapt and you have to prepare. And this is a big leap for a lot of people to go from an established setup to the new world of opportunities and unknown, which is the entrepreneurship. What do you think leaders should prepare themselves for to make this leap and make it uneventful and successful at the same time?
It does take preparation, right? So the preparation would involve assessing personal risk tolerance. Some people do not have tolerance for risk. This probably is not the right environment for that. You need to develop strong self-management habits. You have to be fully controlling your time. You have to be controlling the distribution of your time, how you handle it yourself and with others. You have to surround yourself with trusted advisors. You have to build a new village for yourself. When we are in a corporate structure, we naturally have a village around us. We have people we can talk with and discuss. And if we have an issue, we can brainstorm it. We don't have that ability to walk into the water cooler as an entrepreneur, right? So we have to be proactively thinking who are the people that are going to be this reliable circle around us as trusted advisors that are going to be supporting us because none of us are going to succeed alone. The trust building is very important with collaborators. It's often not based on contracts like in the corporate world. It's built on different level of trust. We have to continue learning continually. There's constantly new things to learn. All of us have had experiences and strengths in a corporate environment that we bring to the experience. But in entrepreneurial world, you have to be a heck of a lot more multidimensional, and keep your line of sight on multiples of tasks that you might not have been involved. And you always have to stay adaptable, very, very important as things can rapidly change. And the responsiveness in time is very important. Leadership in this context shifts from delegation within systems to shifting into your own hands, full ownership of strategy and execution. And that requires preparation.
That prompts me to ask you another question. You talked about leadership shift of delegation from processes to more tasks, which is probably the opposite you would do in an established setup, in an established role as a leader. What else do entrepreneurs need to do to shift their leadership style and approach when they step into the role of entrepreneur?
Well, certainly the agility is key, right? That agility is absolutely key to adapt quickly, to learn new things, to move fast. But in the entrepreneurship role, you have to be seeing the forest and the trees at the same time. You have to be visionary and you have to be execution oriented. You need to balance this long term strategy with a rapid tactical execution, and you need to respond very quickly to real feedback that you receive, whether from advisors or prospects and clients, and you have to iterate very rapidly. So, in the absence of bureaucracy, speed, learning, and adaptability drive progress and innovation.
That is a fabulous way of packaging what leadership skills an entrepreneur need to focus on, which is very different. What got you there is not going to get you here. It's going to be a different game, different players, and different skill sets. What
Agreed.
advantages does entrepreneurship offer compared to corporate leadership?
Well, so I think most of the entrepreneurs that I have spoken with and I interact with that have migrated from corporate world to entrepreneurship is they really feel that they get to build something they're connected to, they believe in, and they want to make a positive impact that is fully within their control. Entrepreneurship enables faster decision making, and direct customer feedback as received can be acted upon. And as I noted before, you can iterate a lot faster because you don't have to go through hoops or structures that are out of your control sometimes. And without those layered approvals, leaders can adapt solutions that are closer to the market needs and test those ideas very rapidly. And the agility, and this word comes across so many times, but it's critical in this context always. It improves that competitive positioning. It allows the founders to build solutions that genuinely solve real problems rather than navigating internal constraints, as it often happens when you're part of a bigger organization.
I guess leadership dilemmas, which is our favorite topic to discuss with leaders, the dilemmas are very different when you operate in an established, politically wired, organizationally evolved corporate setup versus entrepreneurship, where the stakes are high, the risks are high. What do you think are specific dilemmas that an entrepreneur has to resolve?
Well, first of all, getting into entrepreneurship, right, should not be an escape from something else, whether that's some kind of dissatisfaction with a corporate environment or some people a burnout. It has to be an intentional decision. And you have to jump into it with clarity, with preparation and resilience. Resilience, I would say, is one of the, with adaptability, critical skill that one needs to bring to entrepreneurship. Because resilience is required. There will be challenges, there will be setbacks, and our success and ability to move forward depends on how resilient we are
Mhm.
and how adaptable we are. So we have to remain disciplined. It's a long-term journey that requires patience, continued learning. That continued learning is another critical component of it. There's always something new that we learn every day, no matter how many years of experience we have. And that willingness to persist through that uncertainty and the setbacks that are inevitable.
I think you underlined something really well here, which is basically the thought and the confirmation or reiteration to your own self. I'm here to stay. I'm not just trying this out. It's not going to be a fly-by-night thing, and then the whole world changes with that shift in mindset. What do
Absolutely.
you think is a common mistakes that leaders should try and avoid when choosing entrepreneurship? I think you brought up a great point already that it should not be an escape from something else. Apart from that, what else should leaders avoid in terms of making mistakes?
It's part of that change we have to make where we sometimes think because we have applied certain skills successfully in a corporate environment that those same skills are going to be applied the same way. And as we discussed earlier, although they're transferable skills, the context is different
Mhm.
and you still have to adapt to how they're applied into entrepreneurship environment. So you could be very organized in a corporate setting, and successful with that, and you may come into it thinking that you're very organized as entrepreneur, but you don't have the frameworks in place for you to be organized. You have to organize them yourself. It's a different engagement and it's a different experience that you need to be prepared for. You might be thinking that you're strategic successfully in corporate environment, and you're able to make plans ahead, and you're successful, but you enter the entrepreneurship world and your lane is much wider. Your lane is much wider. Your peripheral vision needs to be different. And how you account for all the variability and the rapidly moving pieces on the sides of the road is very different. So you can't assume that because you were successful at something and these skills worked for you in the corporate environment, they're immediately transferable the same way. There's a heck of a lot more challenges that are broader and wider and requires a much more multidimensional set of skills to address. So some of us maybe were not as technical, or we did not oversee as many technical functions. We had teams that did that. When we come into the entrepreneurship space, it is required for us to have understanding, and sometimes direct hands-on experience to be successful in those spaces. So I would strongly recommend that we assess what we're transferring as skills, which skills are serving us well, but also how they need to be adapted and what new things we need to continuously learn to be successful in the context of entrepreneurship.
I guess there's going to be an element of unlearning too, which is the most
Oh, of
difficult
course.
thing to do.
Yeah. The unlearning is much harder than the learning sometimes. Yes.
Yes. In research shows that a lot of learning happens while a lot of unlearning people do struggle with. And in the process, the learning truly doesn't happen. Yeah. So, in terms of mindset, we talked about being there for the long run and not just making it a quick in and out exercise. What do you think is the mindset required for long-term sustainability and success as an entrepreneur, Tatiana?
We go back to being curious, right? We have to keep curiosity on the forefront as we explore and learn and adapt to a very dynamic environment. Alignment with personal values is very important for entrepreneurs to be successful. Their passion about what they engage with is critical driver for their success, because that passion drives that obsession to keep going every day, no matter what is happening, to be willing to keep resilient through the setbacks. So that commitment to continuous learning and adapting is, I think, foundational requirement. Entrepreneurs must embrace trial and error. We must adapt quickly. We must stay motivated through our purpose rather than seeking external validation, which is another thing, right? It's about how we see ourselves. We see ourselves as successful people in certain way in a corporate world. And then we come to entrepreneurship and the success is not measured the same way. The success looks a little bit different now because it's really up to our ability to carry on with all of these things we're discussing. Stay true to your values, stay on your purpose, be resilient, continuously learn, adapt, respond quickly. So that success comes from balancing the vision with the execution while remaining resilient through the ambiguity and change that is entrepreneurship every day.
If in the corporate world, change is required every day, in the entrepreneurial world, I guess it's required every hour.
Just about.
That's kind of the way it goes. And I have seen that you, Tatiana, ever since you stepped into the entrepreneurial um, role or step into the world of entrepreneurship here. I see you contented and satisfied with following the path of your passion way more than what I have experienced you ever. So it's almost like you've arrived. So I think that is probably the mindset. You are going to arrive and you are going to make the change in your environment and in your world, the world around you is the most, I would say, the attractive and the pull factor of becoming an entrepreneur. And you certainly live it, Tatiana.
Thank you,
Why
Raji.
is this conversation even important? Why do you think this leadership dilemmas associated with entrepreneurship is important to share publicly? Why are we recording this and sharing it with our audience? In your view, what is it?
Well, like I noted earlier, right, we're not alone as entrepreneurs and we do not succeed alone. I have been exceptionally fortunate to be surrounded by amazing group of advisors who are also inspired and excited about what we're building at Tava, and want to be part of it, and sometimes reconfirm the ideas I have, and sometimes they pull me back. And that is very, very important that we have this village around us, this learning from each other, this enhancing our skills and knowledge and feeling supported. And I think this discussion is important for that reason, because there are many aspiring entrepreneurs that I've come across who are about to make this transition and others who've made the transition. And some of us have either underestimated the emotional side or the operational side or the leadership shifts required that we are discussing. So I think conversations like this help us learn from each other's experiences, that help us normalize our fears, help us clarify expectations, and provide a practical guidance on the evolving leadership styles as we make these transitions. I think sharing those real experiences supports the informed decisions we make and prepares other leaders to transition with clarity and conviction and confidence, and also know that they're not alone. They're part of the entrepreneurial village.
I really like what you said about the entrepreneurial village because it does need a village to make things happen. And any amount of support, reiteration, and virtual hugs and advice and guidance in today's virtual world is extremely helpful. And I can tell you from my own experience and evolution, entrepreneurship is also trusting your own self. And Tatiana, I saw you trust yourself and have confidence in your own self. And sometimes it needs for somebody else to reiterate that in us because we are denying that and we are selling ourselves short to our own selves in being able to make this decision. And a leap of a decision in a lot of risk at hand, financial, emotional, personal, a whole bunch of things that hit the ground in this decision. So, thank you so much for being our guest today and sharing your insights about your journey from being a very successful business and people leader in the corporate world to becoming the same in the entrepreneurial world. Tatiana, it's been a pleasure having this conversation with you here to share with our audience. And I'm hoping we are going to continue sharing our insights and evolving as leaders. Thank you.
Thank you, Raji. Thank you for having me, and thank you for being there as an advisor, mentor over the years, and helping me make critical decisions that I have made. I appreciate that support and the guidance and the framework that you have developed that has helped me evolve my leadership style.
Thank you. It takes a village, right?
Yes, it takes a village for sure.